All right. So here is something I want you guys to all know. Your mind is your map. It's a map of your life, a map of your experiences. And your mind holds all of those experiences, and it's what it knows. Your brain doesn't know anything outside of what it has experienced, what it's felt, what it's smelled, what it's seen. Like it has to constantly look at only what it knows. We're not like computers where you just like download something into it and it gets to have experiences or knowledge that it never knew. So your mind is always your map of your experiences. And that's important to know because to have a growth mindset, we have to get really comfortable with expanding our mind maps and actively expanding them. Because if left to its own devices, the brain will not expand its mind map. The brain loves to be comfortable. And honestly, the brain's a little lazy because it's saving energy, right? To keep us alive. But when you start to grow, especially when we talk about some of the things you can do today to grow and expand your mind map, it's really uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable, right? Like we're going to talk about the emotions that come up. And it's important to know that it's okay to be uncomfortable. And why is that? And I love to use the analogy of a video game, right? So, we probably have all played some sort of video game in our life, maybe some more than others. But you know how in a video game you get to a certain level and you are like the jam, like you can play that level and you are just like, and you know where everything's at. You're almost like you're not thinking. Your brain is just going at it at that level. And what is actually happening is your brain has created neural pathways to make sure that the fastest way that you know how to do it, right? And so on that level, you are just going as fast as you can. And because you're so amazing at that level, you level up. And as soon as you level up, you're like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, like I just died. Like someone just, shot me with my, the arrow or something or whatever game you're playing, or everything you knew, like where it was is now moved. And it's because your mind map expanded, right? That you were on level 6, maybe, and then you went to level 7. And all of that new space is new to your mind and it's uncomfortable and it doesn't feel quite right. So has anyone ever had that moment where you felt like your mind opened up to new possibilities and you were like, eek, like it doesn't feel right. And what did you want to do? I'm sure you probably wanted to, level back down. In a video game, you can't really level back down. Maybe you can, I don't know. I'm not very good at it. But in life, we oftentimes level up, we get scared and we level back down. And that's not good. We got to keep leveling up. So last year, oh my gosh, last year was all about leveling up. It was all about expanding our mind maps. That is definitely what we did all day, every day last year. So what happens when our mind expands and we get really uncomfortable in this little gray space that we don't know very well? Fear kicks in. And the reason why fear kicks in is it's your brain's tool to keep you alive. The funny thing about it is your brain doesn't understand the difference between, getting in trouble at work or looking bad at work and falling off a cliff. It's just fear. It's just something's going to go bad, right? And so your brain doesn't always know how to respond. And so you might think, well, gosh, when I level up, I'm not in fear. You probably are. It's still the fear chemical. But how it starts to show up in your brain when you give it feelings and when you give it language, it shows up as this is too hard. I'll be judged. I'll fail. I'll be too embarrassed. This won't work, right? And so then what do? When our brain starts to tell us these lies, because that's what they are, it's not true, it's just fear, our brain starts to contract back down into its comfortable spot. And so we have to make sure that we get really uncomfortable or comfortable with this uncomfortable feeling of fear. The other thing I want you to know about fear is it's only a chemical reaction. That is it. And, if you like walk up to like a cliff, like just looking at this girl in this picture sitting on the cliff, it makes my belly flip flop. I'm like, oh, right. That's my body saying, back away from that cliff. If you fall off, you're going to get hurt. So don't do it. And so, again, as soon as you get to a place where you feel like your coworkers may judge you, or your boss might not be happy with you, or you're not sure if you can figure this out, your body starts to produce those chemicals to get you to back away from it. But if you can get comfortable with those chemicals and you can say, hey, fear is just a chemical reaction. This is just my body doing what my body does. I know where I want to go and I know where I want to, what I want to do. Your life will change in a whole new way. And that's what we're going to work on today. Does anyone recognize that fear feeling when things start to like come up at you and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do it, right? And your brain starts to tell us some really crazy stuff. So, Olympia, I'm so glad you like it. Yeah, it's really fascinating when you start to understand how the brain actually works so that you can work with it and not against it. But so often we don't know. I didn't know for years. My mind map was blown away when I started learning about the brain and how it impacts my leadership skills. If you're jumping off, I want to say thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this and you want to tell a friend, you can send your friend the link to sign up. They'll get all the replays, they'll get the workbook, they can come to the other 2 sessions. What's important to know is here at 304, we do talent strategies, we do assessments, leadership academies, executive coaching, anything around talent strategies. We do that and we have a ton of fun around it.